Hello, good evening, everyone, and welcome to this webinar on by the Board of Internal Audit and Management Accounting. And we have with us our very honorable chairman of the board, CA Prakash Sharma ji. So, Prakash bhai, everyone is wanting to hear you out, right? So, I will first speak, and I invite you to speak.
Good
Right? We
evening,
have
good evening. Good evening, Prithivan. Good evening, everyone.
good evening. Yes.
Good evening,
I'm
sir.
really delighted to have such wonderful topic today. And from last so many years, we are trying to educate our members, trying to request them that please come out from the traditional practice and take care of all the technical changes which are taking place in our profession, which is very, very essential. So, in the leadership of Prithivan, we are going to have a very fantastic conference in first week of August relating to AI only in Bombay. So, all persons who wants to attend who are in Bombay, I will request them to attend physically, and other people, yeah, you all are most welcome if they can come physically in Bombay. That's very good. Otherwise, you people all have to attend that conference. This will be very, very important. So I will not take much of the time. And again, I'm handing over to my lovely sister, Priti Man.
Thank you very much, Prakash bhai. Prakash has already announced the conference. So now we are looking forward to see all of you in the conference in the first week of August. So today's topic is correlating with the conference also because the internal audit in this IT, artificial intelligence governance, because as the technology is emerging very fast and daily basis we are hearing new and the novel topics on this artificial intelligence, right? Day by day, too, yesterday we have thought of something, but today something new will come. We have recently, our AI in ICI committee has recently launched the CAGPT for everyone, and I hope everyone has downloaded this. It will be very useful for various activities, such as whether it is relating to drafting or reporting. Everything can be used. 80% of the work can be done with this artificial intelligence, and accordingly the artificial intelligence governance is also need to be verified. Recently the government has also launched this digital personal data protection policy, and with that the new lot of governance requirement is there. So for that we thought this topic is very important, that internal audit in artificial intelligence, lot of huge demand in the corporates about this new internal audit for this activity, and accordingly we thought let us invite CA Karthik Radia for this topic. So welcome Karthik bhai. He will spread awareness as well as his knowledge and expert knowledge on this subject. We have with us CA Jinal Savla and CA Jankana Desai as the moderators, and I will fail in my duty if I don't recognize the efforts of Aarti and entire team for a Board of Internal Audit under the able leadership of our Central Council member and Chairman of the Board, CA Prakash Sharma. With these words, I welcome all of you to this wonderful and knowledgeable episode and wish you a very happy learning. Thank you very much.
A very good evening to one and all. It's my immense pleasure to welcome our torchbearers, CA Prakash Sharma sir, Chairman, Board of Internal Audit and Management Accounting, ICAI, and CA Preeti Savla ma'am, Vice Chairman, Board of Internal Audit and Management Accounting. Our today's speaker on internal audit of AI governance, CA Karthik Radia sir, and all our participants. Thank you very much. Like we have the vision, as President sir has the vision of AI in ICAI. And we truly believe in what sir said, that if you do not innovate, you will evaporate. With this vision, would like to introduce today's speaker, CA Karthik Radia sir, CEO and Managing Partner in Mazar. CA Karthik sir is a fellow chartered accountant and Associate Company Secretary ICAI, Cost and Management Accountant ICMAI, and he has 3 qualifications from USA: Certified Internal Auditor, Certified Information System Auditor, and Certified Public Accountant. He is a qualified Bachelor of Commerce from Mumbai University from DG Ruparal College. He has 25.5 years of experience in consulting service and has worked for 9 years in Big Four firms like PwC, EY, and also with fifth largest firm, BDO, as an executive board members of the firm. He has a global experience of various countries such as USA, Canada, Brazil, UK, Japan, Hong Kong, Singapore, Africa, Australia, Europe, and many more. He has an expertise on various industries such as power, infrastructure, real estate, manufacturing, and telecom. He, along with his team of partners, has built up 7 service lines like governance and risk management services, ERP, robotics, etc. CA Karthik believes in that any consulting team that must add real value should focus on implementation, effectiveness, and the advice must be constructual to the business. With this brief introduction, would request our today's speaker to start with the session. Over to you, sir. Welcome, sir.
So thank you so much, Zankana and Preeti ma'am. Thank you so much for this introduction and warm welcome. I believe that we have about nine participants, right, on the session today. So accordingly, this will just help us to make it slightly more interactive rather than just one way. Am I correct?
There will be more. Right now on the screen you will find, but participants are more, which you are not able to visible. There will be more than 100 to 150 participants.
Fine.
Technical, yeah. So this is only the moderators and the speakers screen.
Fair enough. So, just I thought maybe could be slightly more interactive. If anybody has some questions, I think they can.
Yeah, they can put in the chat box. Yeah,
Perfect.
they can put in the chat. They'll put. So I also request the technical team, Javier, if you can give the participants details and that details to sir, that will be useful for him. Yeah, you can continue in the meantime.
Sure,
आरती
ma'am.
जी ये करवा लेंगे ना?
Sure, ma'am. So what I have done now is I've shared my screen, and hopefully all of you can see my screen. The topic that we have today is internal audit of AI governance, as AI is becoming very prominent and important in the overall business and scalability. It plays a very important role in scaling up the business, and most businesses are very much into the AI initiatives and wanting to scale up using AI as a very important driver of the business, and which is rightly so. Something that got started with plain data analytics a few years back has taken a shape of tools and emanations in the form of full-fledged artificial intelligence mechanisms, and there are various forms of artificial intelligence, right from machine learning, neural languages, to generative AI, robotic process automation, and various forms and shapes of AI. And as AI plays a very important role, the governance of AI and the assurance of AI also is very important in the overall scheme of things as a part of the overall governance and assurance. And when we talk about corporate governance, the subject of corporate governance is actually incomplete without having a proper governance about AI. There are quite a few examples which I will shortly share as to how the AI governance becomes a very important part of corporate governance, and how without AI governance, the topic of corporate governance itself is incomplete and is not adequately effective enough if we don't address the subject of AI governance. And accordingly, also, when we had a subject of external audit, external assurance, slowly we went into something like an internal audit over and above statutory audit, to say that before even statutory audit starts the work and gives an assurance, there's also an internal audit and assurance, which is one step before a third line of defense, and first step before actually statutory audit plays its role. And we said that the internal audit is an independent function within the management itself, and plays an independent role outside of management to give an assurance to the board of directors, because that is how the board of directors will get an assurance, obviously by internal audit and by external audit. And as far as the external shareholders are concerned, they will get the assurance by way of external audit. The board of directors will get an assurance by way of internal audit as well as external audit. So this is a kind of a overall governance machinery, and we said that internal audit is needed now on top of external audit. And then internal audit role and evolution went into not just looking into the financial aspects of the business or the financial processes, financial controls, and financial reporting, but it went into beyond financial statements to business processes, business systems, business controls, and so on. Now, why I'm sharing and getting into the details of all of this is to also lay down the context that internal audit is going to play a very important role in the scheme of overall AI governance. And again, before inviting the statutory auditors to evaluate the effectiveness of AI program, it is important that internal audit plays that role by reviewing the AI governance plans and AI governance structure, etc. So, like we have a financial statement assurance and financial statement audit that is done by an independent accounting firm, which gives an assurance on the financial statement affairs, we also need assurance and external independent assurance for two another important areas. And these are AI and sustainability. We already have sustainability standards, which says that there needs to be like auditing standards, even sustainability standards, like accounting standards, even sustainability standards, and like audit standards, sustainability assurance standards. And there is already a framework in place. There's a requirement that has come from SEBI for the top 250 listed companies in India to give an external assurance or an external audit report on sustainability. Likewise, there is also going to be a need for giving an external assurance or an external audit of AI. So these two topics, the sustainability and AI, outside of financial statement and financial performance, are the two most important areas that need an external assurance and an external audit. And therefore, since it needs an external audit, it definitely needs first an internal audit. Similarly, as I said, for financial statements and external audit, we went back to say that we need an internal audit over and above the external audit. So if we would need an external audit of subjects like sustainability and subjects like AI effectiveness, we need also an internal audit of AI and sustainability. Now, today's topic being AI governance, the internal audit of AI governance, we will talk mainly about internal audit or internal assurance on AI governance as an important way forward means to arrive at even an external assurance on the effectiveness of AI. So, as AI is becoming very prominently used in achieving the business goals, and today's business cannot imagine being existing without the existence of AI and having AI plans in the business, be it any business, whether it is agriculture business or it is a manufacturing production business, or it's a banking business or a financial services business or any other kind of business. It cannot exist, it cannot play, it cannot work without having proper AI plans. And therefore, internal audit of reviewing some of these AI plans and AI structures is very, very important for the business before it goes through any round of an external audit. And let me tell you also that we will soon have as a country a regulation around artificial intelligence. There are already regulations in place around the world around the usage of AI. Like one such regulation that I want to talk about is European Artificial Intelligence Act, which has already been enacted. And likewise, we also are going to have something similar that is going to come up for India, which is in the form of AI regulation or an AI Act within India. There is already an Act on Digital which is round the corner. It is going to be implemented anytime soon in the similar manner as the DPDP Act that Preeti ma'am already spoke about, the Digital Data Protection Act, which has already been implemented in India, though the effective date is yet to be formalized. So, if the AI regulation is going to take its form and shape very soon in India as well, like we have in other parts of the world, therefore, compliance with the AI regulation is also going to play a very important role outside of internal audit and external audit of AI, of an effective AI. So it is going to be very important in that context, not just from a compliance perspective to the Artificial Intelligence Act, as and whenever it comes in, it is going to be important to review the overall artificial intelligence strategy, overall artificial intelligence programs, overall artificial intelligence plans, and overall artificial intelligence governance programs. Most of the companies have already taken up AI in a massive way, to the extent that they have got AI Center of Excellence within the part of the organization that separately, as an organizational structure, looks at all AI initiatives. So for the companies that already have AI Center of Excellence, it becomes very, very easy and very, very much possible to have AI governance as a part of centralized initiative, as a part of AI Center of Excellence. It is.
Sorry, sir. To interrupt the PPT, I guess it's not moving, like it's stuck. Can you
I'm
please
not
check?
moving it. I've not yet started
Okay.
fully. So, I'm still right now on the context, Zankar, I'm still on the context of AI governance and internal audit, and how do we need this, how it is going to play a role, what is going to happen in the format of internal audit. I'm still there as the initial context introduction, and then I'll get into the slides.
Fine, sir. Thank you.
So coming back, as I said, the AI Center of Excellence, if a company already has, and by the way, most of the scaled and large companies already have AI Center of Excellence to drive the implementation of massive AI programs in different parts of the business. For such companies, it becomes relatively easier to implement AI governance, because that will also be driven through some common processes and common policies that are applicable in the AI Center of Excellence. Because those initiatives of AI are driven centrally through that Center of Excellence program for all different business units. And therefore, if you have to drive the AI governance, it is the same Center of Excellence that will be able to drive, although we need some independent structures, but it will still be able to drive the AI governance policies and procedures and compliance. Now, coming to the internal audit core per se of AI governance, I want to give a couple of examples before I get into the detailed aspects of the presentation. Couple of examples. Now, today, many of your AI programs are actually surfing the internet, getting a lot of external data from different available websites and domains. Let's say, for example, one such simple example that I can give you is about human capital team utilizing AI to surf some of the databases, like let's say, recruitment platforms, like let's say Naukri.com or LinkedIn. Some of these are public platforms where some of your AI programs will surf and will be able to get you some of the profiles. You will be able to do it either through human interface or through AI interface, and you'll be able to get some of the profiles. Now, if you really look at it from a legal standpoint, most of these platforms and websites have a condition that your AI programs cannot crawl on some of these websites and platforms. There are strict notices, and that notices make sure that it is not the computer program or any AI program that is able to crawl and surf and get the required data and intelligence. So there are strict notices, but even despite of that, most of the companies are able to have some AI programs run off or run on some of the external public databases and external public platforms or external platforms. Now, is this AI program which runs on external databases and platforms in compliance? Strictly speaking, it is not. But you still made such a AI program because that makes your job simple, because it is able to get the information that you need by crawling onto these public websites. Is it in compliance? Answer to that is no. So what do we do of such situations? What do we do of such situations? Now, this kind of an AI program, if it gets into public databases, it also has a capability to breach some of the laws like related to privacy, because it is able to breach the privacy law, because some of these databases have also taken compliance undertaking and has given some of the assurance on privacy to the users, external end users of these databases, like the people who are applicant on the platforms. So the end user has been given an assurance on privacy by the platforms. And here are the programs, AI programs, which are logging into and getting and fetching some of the data and information for its own use, for which the permission has not been taken from the end user by the public platforms. So strictly speaking, some of these are not in compliance. So therefore, there is a need for some of these programs to be checked, to be controlled, to be reviewed, to be governed, to make sure that they don't breach and they don't violate, some of these very important provisions related to external databases and external platforms. Now, this is one example. There are several of such examples, that are there, and various AI programs, they are running across the enterprises. Every single use case, there is some or the other program, AI program, that is massively driving the results and outcomes in the company, in most of the organizations. So it is so very important that on some of these parameters, like privacy, like confidentiality, like assurance, there is a check, and there are containment programs related to the usage of AI in the manner that it complies and it delivers the expected outcomes, and it doesn't breach any of the external regulations, the legal regulations, the privacy regulations, the confidentiality regulations between the business parties, and also the efficiency mechanisms that are being laid out in several contracts, so even the contract compliances. So for that, there is an important need for the businesses to set up AI governance programs, because on one hand, AI is driving efficiency, and it is important to check whether AI is efficiently achieving the objectives. And it is also important that this AI is operating within the overall scheme and frame of things about governance. And privacy is one such factor which is maximum possible and susceptible to breaches. Similarly, some of the monetary aspects of banking, financial services, payments, cyber frauds, for example, is also one of the other aspects related to AI, possible misuses, and possible breaches and possible violations. Now, having said all this, we will get into the topic of internal audit of AI governance, and the impact and some of the aspects. So artificial intelligence, obviously, each and every, as I said, we cannot imagine of enterprises, any of the enterprises that are not using AI today in some shape and form. We can't imagine that, right? It is not possible to imagine. So while we have got the benefits of efficiency, automation, data-driven decisions, there are huge risks that are possible in the form of biases, security vulnerabilities, lack of accountability, lack of transparency, breach of privacy. And that is a very essential pitfall. We are in a very, very early stage right now when it comes to regulation of AI. We have been using AI for more than 2 or 3 years now. Obviously, earlier we've been using in the form of data. Now we're using in the form of processes, workflows, and some of the most efficient mechanisms, as I said, including the external searches and external, database searches, etc. We have been using it, but we still don't have a proper regulation and a proper governance around it, and it makes really some of the very, very dangerous phenomena in front of us. And it is therefore important that we study the whole kind of risks that are arising out of the usage of AI, which is calling and falling under the subject and the topic of AI risks, the risks that are emerging from usage of artificial intelligence. And to me, like we had cyber risk, we've been talking about cyber risk for past maybe 7 or 8 years now, and which had occupied maybe the most important risk at the board level. Currently, according to me, the risks emerging from the usage of AI and the misuse of AI and the breaches arising out of AI is the single most important risk that most businesses are dealing with currently. And it can lead to, a very, very big explosion risk, explosion of value, reputation risk, where the business can face a very, very big privacy breach and possible also an existential risk related to a violation coming in from AI. Now, imagine the DPDP Act that we referred to some time back has penalties to the scheme of 500 crores, which is the act has actually laid out such penalties. How it's going to be implemented is another question, but that is obviously is one of the most difficult regulations that we are going to see of the coming times, where huge penalties have been laid out. And today, let me tell you that many of the business practices we keep getting as chartered accountants also, when it comes to most of the lending and financial services institutions, we keep getting calls, for example, that if there are any financial needs, OD limits, capital requirements, we keep getting some of these calls. And imagine all these activities are actually not compliant. They are the breach. And where do all these data breaches happen? So obviously, there are some places that these guys have got hold of our data, and they know exactly what is the level of our practice, what is the revenue. So they have most of the data that is available in front of them when they are making calls to you. And as I say, most of these practices are actually not regulated. They are, in a way, they are not legal. So if I go back and complain about receiving some of these calls, some of these businesses, the principal NBFCs and the principal institutions that are hiring such agents will really face existential risk, because we have not consented as, let's say, as chartered accountants, we have not consented for the usage of our data by a third party or by these financial institutions. We have never consented. So why is our data being used? Because they have all our data and they're calling us day in and day out, and we receive so many of these calls. So imagine a 500 crore penalty, which is the maximum penalty, if at all being put on any of these players. It can lead to an existential risk. And when I come to the AI regulation and AI Act, let me tell you, the regulatory penalties that will come in from AI will be no lesser compared to what we have in the form of DPDP Act. And therefore, it's a very, very critical and big issue, and is the most important risk that we have in the modern times, as the risk emerging from the usage and from the misuse and from the misconduct of AI programs. The most important risk that will exist in at least next 2 or 3 or 4 different years from now. The main risk that we will talk about is the risk related to the AI, the usage of AI and the misuse of AI. So that also brings us to the next slide, which is why internal audit need to focus on the AI governance. Obviously, this is an existential risk for businesses. The kind of penalties are going to be huge as and when the act of artificial intelligence or the regulation of artificial intelligence comes into play. Already, data protection act is already in place, and that penalties is in front of us already. We have seen those penalties. None of those have changed from the draft version. Only they have been further magnified or amplified in terms of the value of those penalties that are being sought to be implemented. So likewise, in AI, we don't see that some of these penalties, will be reduced or will be lower than that. Now, some of these practices, some of the business practices, will attract multiple laws. Will attract probably the Digital Act that India is about to implement. Will attract the DPDP Act, Digital Data Protection Act, and may also attract the AI regulation that India will implement in the coming times. There can be the interface of multiple regulations, right? And if there are interface of multiple regulations, that is possible that you will be attracting penalty under more than one regulation. So internal audit has to deeply focus, apart from all the operational areas of the business, the operational auditing, the cyber auditing, the sustainability auditing, internal audit, in at least in the year 24-25 and the years forward, need to actually look at the AI governance structures, the AI risks, and the AI risks and controls, and the AI plans. Obviously, we are not talking about here internal audit reviewing each and every AI code, because that is practically impossible for an internal audit to go and review each and every code. But if there is an AI governance structure that is well established, then each and every step of AI development in the life cycle goes through checks and balances. And there are tests, at least at the UAT level and the testing level. There is adequate testing that is done around some of the controls, some of the governance controls that would include privacy controls, that would include consent controls, and that would include also breaches and non-compliances with the external either agreements or external notices or the external platform notices. So there will be checks and balances as a part of go live, as a part of various life cycle stages that will take care. If there are such procedures and policies laid out for AI governance, which governs the life cycle, which governs the testing, then at least internal audit can look at the such governance programs and policies, such structures, and will be able to evaluate, will be able to do some test checking that will allow in the internal audit to really give some kind of an assurance, an internal audit assurance, an internal audit opinion, and internal audit recommendatory improvements for AI governance initiatives and AI governance structures. So there will be, as I said, there will be an AI life cycle. There will be laid out policies and procedures governing the AI life cycle. One such very important check and balance is the testing. And at the time of testing, there will be a detailed test around meeting the AI governance standards. So if there is such a kind of policy, procedure, and the governance program that is laid out, internal audit function will be able to test check it and will be able to give an opinion. Now, this is on the tactical side of things. Internal audit is also required. Internal audit function is also required to see an overall AI governance mechanism. And how would internal audit do that? Is by reviewing the whole corporate governance program and seeing it that how AI governance is an important part of corporate governance. Are there provisions in the corporate governance policies? Are there provisions that are set up for AI governance? The board of directors, which are a very important component of the corporate governance, the risk management committee, which is again a very important component for the board of directors to give an assurance on corporate governance. So whether the board of directors, whether the risk management committee, whether the independent directors, which is again one of the very important component of corporate governance, whether they are equipped enough, because they are dealing with the subject of corporate governance, whether they are equipped enough to deal with the subject of AI governance, whether they are able to perform an oversight and governance on the subject of AI as a part of their role in corporate governance. That is again for internal audit to review it. And if there are improvement areas for structure, as far as the structure is concerned, to improvise the AI governance as a part of corporate governance, then those are also important recommendations for internal audit to provide to the board of directors and to the management. That here is where we would recommend that the corporate governance structure should incorporate the AI governance as an important subject. Presently, let me tell you, while we are in a good shape as far as having independent directors, independent and non-executive chairman as a structure, let me tell you, most of the board of directors, they come in from disciplines like accounting, legal, and so on and so forth. There is not adequate composition of AI into the board of directors. And this is what an internal audit, also an external audit, which is supposed to give and which is going to come up as a role for a statutory audit also, because there will soon be an external assurance and external audit on the AI like sustainability. It's going to come up very soon. And as much as internal audit will give an assurance on the AI governance, there will be also a statutory audit of AI governance and statutory audit assurance and an opinion on the AI governance. It's a very, very big subject. It has to be a part of corporate governance. If AI governance is not a part of corporate governance, then it is going to be difficult to achieve the overall objective of AI governance, because you will have a corporate governance, but you will not have AI governance as a part of it. So board of directors will not be able to make themselves responsible for AI governance, and board of directors will not be able to review AI governance. Whereas it is very important for the board of directors to review AI governance and to have a very important subject of AI governance as a part of corporate governance. If you don't make it, you will not be able to achieve. So the whole regulations around AI governance to be a part of corporate governance will have to evolve even as a regulatory framework, because presently the corporate governance doesn't have an AI governance as a subject. And then we will have a whole set of AI governance structures, policies, and procedures that will need to be complied. So therefore, it becomes very important for internal audit to focus on it, for corporate governance to have it as a part of corporate governance, for statutory audit also to review and give an opinion, and for board of directors also to include it as a part of overall corporate governance program. Now, having said that, it is important to understand that this is how the role of internal audit on AI governance is going to evolve, because obviously it is helping us to safeguard the assets, and that is the main objective of internal audit roles. And if the AI is not governed, then you will be exposed to such big risks that you will be able to erode and have a loss on most of the value creation and the assets that you have created. Now, the lack of expertise at the board level or at the audit level for AI is another very important concern, because for being able to govern it, somebody needs to know it, what it is actually, what is the whole subject all about, what is the potential of this subject, how businesses are thriving and how businesses are making use of AI. So if the governance, the core governance keepers of the organizations, if they are not going to have adequate expertise, that lays down another challenge for the companies to be able to achieve the AI governance as a part of corporate governance. The kind of risks that are coming up are related to accountability, are related to bias, are related to security, are related to explainability. And it is important to lay down all of these risks as a part of AI risks. It is kind of the way we have a risk register. We have a whole subject of AI risk and having a full risk register around the possible AI risks. And then looking into possible mitigation of these risks, of these AI risks that are coming up. And then also complying with most of the policies of the organizations and the external regulations. Now, you have also internal policies. In your internal policies, you have laid down various policy aspects. And obviously, now 50 to 60% of your business is automated, is using AI. Where are we having some of the policies on this part of the business where 50 to 60% of the processes that are used are AI processes in most of the business functions? Where are we having some of those policies and processes well established? Even some of these standardized operating procedures, the SOPs that we have framed up, are we having those SOPs well updated? Because now your processes have got automated and the processes are using AI. Have you also documented enough interfaces of AI in your business processes as a part of your policy and processes? Answer to that also is most of the times it is not, because this is such a evolving area that day on day basis, you are coming up with new and new AI methods and new different technologies and using and implementing those technologies. Do you also even have time enough to document some of these important technologies that you're using, and how are the processes running? Which of the processes are automated? Which of the processes are done by which programs? Which of the processes are done by which users using which of the application system or which of the AI tools? We don't have some of those documentation and SOPs that are updated. So if they're not updated, where is the accountability? Where's the accountability? And it is important for internal audit to also bring some of these areas, that how are your SOPs updated? How is your documentation evolving and updated with the usage of AI? Let me tell you, most of the organizations have not documented adequately some of these AI usages that they are doing, because every day on a month-on-month basis, there are different features and there are different facilities and different features that are coming to this AI. Let's say, for example, the advent of Gen AI. Advent of Gen AI has been so rapid, has been so fast, that some of the processes that are now using Gen AI tools are not adequately documented. And how do we make sure that the documentation is up to date? How do we make sure that the processes have been kept up to date? Because if you have not documented, you are not aware, you are simply using whatever comes your way. So therefore, there is not enough governance, there is not enough awareness, and there is not enough governance and controls in the usage. So all of this lays down some very important areas for internal audits to focus on as a part of AI governance, as a part of AI usage. So there is a subject of trust and there is a subject of transparency. And those are two very important subjects when you talk about AI governance: trust and transparency. Now, if you have transparency, it leads to trust. And it is important that the usage of AI, when I say it should be documented, it should be transparent. Wherever you are using AI programs to deal with the information that is not your asset, that is not the asset of your organization. Let's say your customer information, or let's say your distributor's information. or let's say your end users' information, or let's say the financial reserves of the country, let's say import and export and the finance deficit or the trade deficit information, where you'll be using external portals and going to the external portals. Now, is this a public data? It could be public data, but it's still not your own data. You don't own that data. So wherever there are those external data, which is not your property, which is not your asset, even though it may be public data at times, but if you're using it, there needs to be adequate transparency around it. There needs to be adequate trust mechanisms around it, that we are not misusing it as an enterprise, as an organization. We're not misusing it, and we are using it only for the purpose which we have adequately declared, for which we have got enough consent. We're not misusing it. And at the same time, for giving trust, there needs to be also the assurance program, because trust cannot be given without an assurance. Just by declaring it, just by saying that we have an AI program, doesn't give trust. So you need to have a full-fledged external assurance program to be able to give trust to external parties. So therefore, there is a need for trust mechanisms, and there are various subjects around it. There are various standards around it. We would suggest that there are subjects of digital trust. There are subjects of SOC 1, SOC 2, which is the external framework. SOC 1, SOC 2, SOC 3, which is an external framework for lending trust, and for reporting on compliance, and for reporting on adequate independent opinion on some of these controls, which is outside of financial statements. So let's say SOC 2 standard, which is an international standard, largely deals with some of these important trust parameters. One of them is privacy. It is not a financial data, but it is definitely an important private personal information. So how can the trust mechanisms be provided using digital trust? How can the trust be established using SOC 1, SOC 2, SOC 3 framework, or maybe a completely different framework related to AI governance and related to AI responsible use and AI usages? How do we give that trust, which can be in the form of an external assurance and an external audit? It is worthwhile to also talk about some of these standards of AI, responsible AI, or governance of AI. One such international standard has come up in the form of 42001 2023. This is presently the most important and the only available external standard which talks about the governance of AI and the framework of the AI governance. Possibly the only standard that is existing today. Let me tell you, this subject is going to massively and very fast evolve at a pace that we cannot think of. So let's say the most widely used standard of ISO currently, let's say, is ISO 27001. ISO 27001 ISMS, Information Security Management Systems standard, ISMS standard. Likewise, I clearly foresee and predict that ISO IEC 42001 2023, which is the guiding framework for AI governance, is going to be the most widely used standard for developing and complying AI governance in any enterprise. This is going to be a very important standard that is going to be game changer. Like the way we do compliance exercise for ISO 27001 for ISMS, we are going to also see a lot of enterprises demanding compliance and certification around ISO 42001. This is going to become a very important business driver. And this is going to evolve. This is going to take a shape. It is going to be so much evolutionary in nature that it is going to be very difficult to keep pace with it, but at the same time complying with and giving an assurance and giving a certification on compliance with this standard is going to be very important. So it provides a framework for responsible development, deployment, and the use of AI systems. There are principles, as I said, related to fairness, lack of bias, accountability, explainability, robustness. And some of the standards I would like to just uh, stress upon when it comes to the pillars of AI governance, and that you can see it in the screen now with this magnifying image, is privacy, security, reliability, safety. Very, very important term. If your data is not safe, and today internet has become the most unsafe platform that we have. While we have created a great means to be in touch, but it is actually, everything is unsafe on internet, right? Unless you protect your information and your assets, which are actually exposed because of internet. If you're not protecting enough, it is not safe. So safety is again very important. And by safety, I mean that you're giving safety to all your stakeholders who are connected to your system. Let's say your employees, your business partners, your important other stakeholders, like even board of directors, right? And your customers, all of these, your suppliers, all of these different stakeholders should be feeling safe, and you need to be giving an assurance on the safety, because unless you give that assurance on the safety related to your platform, they will also lose the value and erode the value by being associated with you. Cyber fraud can impact your supplier, can impact your customer, because your systems are unsafe, because your AI mechanisms are unsafe. So safety is a very important parameter. If your private information of your customer or end user is getting lost, that means you have lost on safety. And that means your data is not safe, and therefore your people who are coming on the platform are not safe. Similarly, compliance, similarly, accountability. If your AI programs are not establishing enough accountability as to who are the users of the information, why is information being used, how responsibility it is used, who is using it, who is responsible, and that is the accountability framework. And then you need to be, as I told you, all of you, that documentation and updation of SOPs, explaining it, that how AI is being used, why it is being used, what it is going to achieve. So that leads to explainability as again a very important element, that we are using AI in a manner that is explainable, in a manner that is documented. If you have documented it, that means you're governing it. You are conscious and you are aware, and you can explain it. So explainability, transparency, I have already covered this. Inclusiveness. Inclusiveness, again, as a topic, cannot be underestimated, is the most important. You need to be inclusive overall, and your end users and the society at large need to get an assurance that you are inclusive in your AI programs, and you're not biased, and you're not favoring just a small part or just a small portion, just your, let's say, just your shareholders. For the benefit of your shareholders, you're not misusing AI programs. So this is one example of inclusiveness. Other example of inclusiveness is, let's say, your corporate social responsibility program. If you have selected some areas of corporate social responsibility, then using AI for corporate social responsibility, you're not favoring only some parts of the population. You are inclusive enough in your usage of AI to benefit the larger context of the society at large. So these are the pillars of responsible AI, and obviously alignment with human values, which is a center core, or again, very important part. Because if you don't have alignment with human values, then what is the use of AI? AI is for human beings. AI is not for anybody else, but it's for human beings, for the benefit of human beings. So alignment with human values. So, your principles about values of human being comes into play. Solid governance as an execution level. And there is a terminology at the thought level, which is conscientious, conscience and conscientiousness, which is at the thought level that it operates. What is a conscience and what is conscientiousness? So that is at the thought and at a philosophical level. So these are the pillars of responsible AI that have got set up as a part of ISO 42001 2023, a very important guiding framework for AI governance. It offers guidance on risk management, human oversight, stakeholder engagement, and much more. As I say this and as I predict this, that this is going to be the most important standard of compliance that will give comfort and assurance and even possibly certification around responsible use of AI. So with respect to India, we have some regulatory landscapes already. RBI, SEBI, they are very actively considering how AI should be used. Obviously, RBI is a pioneer in this entire artificial intelligence and governance and the regulation and compliance framework for banks, financial, non-banking finance companies, few fintech players. RBI is a pioneering organization, and not just monetary policy, but also the important operational parameters that a bank, NBFCs, and some of the other players who are operating, including foreign exchange matters, RBI deals with it. And we believe also SEBI, has come up with cybersecurity governance, cybersecurity and IT governance, cybersecurity framework audits as important for categories like stockbrokers, mutual funds, listed companies that SEBI is responsible for, registered entities, and so on. Likewise, we are going to see some of the evolution that is going to be led by these two organizations, RBI and SEBI, in the field of AI. Very shortly, we are going to see some of the frameworks that will come from these two pioneering organizations to set up a regulation and to set up some compliances around the artificial intelligence. That is just down the corner, and this is going to evolve very soon, very fast, and we will have something in place very soon. DPDP Act, the Personal Data Protection Act, is again a very important regulation that has a central objective of privacy in the digital world, to secure privacy. But that again is a singular most important objective to give an assurance and to protect for any AI program also. So therefore, this act, the Digital Data Protection Act, Digital Personal Data Protection Act, it's called DPDP Act in the short form, is again a game-changing regulation, though privacy is the centralized focused, but that is really the most important one, which is already there in place. Importance of explainability, as I already covered it, what all that you're doing as a policy, process, documentation, keeping pace with all that you're doing with the AI interfaces, making sure that that is documented as a part of your standardized operating procedures, again, is a very important element to call for and to give an assurance on explainability. And the need for robust governance frameworks to navigate the regulations. So those are some of the active and the most important considerations for AI governance in India. I have to some extent already covered the role of internal audit in assessing AI governance. In a way, we have already covered this, but just to give you a little more perspective around what is going to be the detailed role, apart from the look at the mechanisms of governance, apart from making sure that the processes and procedures are well documented, apart from operational auditing, which is the key role of internal audit, what is that internal audit going to look at? So Very typically, an internal auditor is going to look at a comprehensive risk register with risks and controls that will cover the AI risks and controls for every process in the life cycle. So what in a given process that is using AI, what is the AI risk? What is the AI controls? Are these AI controls operating effectively? Are they designed effectively? Are they operating effectively? Essentially, at a control level, at a micro level, whether the risk controls metrics for AI, is it existing? Is it designed? Is it operating effectively? Are the people and are the programs that are using AI, are they understanding the risks involved and how are these risks mitigated? What are the controls in place to mitigate this? So that is, again, an important element for risk and controls to be evaluated. The next important element is to test for controls related to bias, explainability, accountability, and security. And we are going to expect internal audit to give us a comprehensive recommendation for improving the overall AI governance program, for improving the corporate governance to include AI governance, and for helping us to see whether the processes are properly explainable, AI is having a proper explainable use, proper responsible use, and the risk and controls, AI risk and controls as a part of the life cycle. So those are the possible areas of improvement and recommendations that we will seek from internal audit. And that's a very, very large and comprehensive role internal audit would need as a part of its composition. Some very good experts on AI competence. They would need experts on AI competence. So while business is using AI, internal audit will also deploy AI experts to review the usage of AI, to check the usage of AI, to report on the usage of AI. So therefore, a composition of the internal audit team is also extremely important in assessing and in playing its role in reviewing the overall AI governance. I have already explained that ISO 42001 is a very important standard for internal audit for AI governance. And we would strongly encourage internal auditor to review and to prepare checklist for compliance and give an assurance on ISO 42001. So it is going to become a benchmark for internal audit to review the AI governance by having proper set of checklists and by incorporating it as a part of their internal audit program. So conducting a risk-based internal audit on the checklist of ISO 42001 compliance is also going to be an important role for internal audit. Internal audit also will have to collaborate with most of the important stakeholders for them to understand that how are these stakeholders using AI? How are these stakeholders using AI? And therefore, to understand that, they need to collaborate with the stakeholders. They need to understand what the stakeholders are expecting by using the AI and what are the core objectives that the stakeholders are expecting. So how do we help the stakeholders achieve the objectives that they want? Obviously, by making sure that we are overall in compliance of the external regulations and standards and the overall AI governance. So it is important to collaborate with the business, with the developers who have developed the AI, with the data scientists, with the business stakeholders, to have a proper communication and understand the whole language around AI, how it is being used, and so on. So there will be joint workshops, training sessions to foster awareness, because internal audit also has an objective to govern and to make sure that the AI risks are mitigated. So the kind of workshops and training sessions and the dialogue sessions between internal audit and other stakeholders are going to be extremely important. And integrating AI governance, as I already said, with the corporate governance program, with the risk management program, is again something that internal audit will do as a part of its collaboration with the business functions and with the risk functions and with the compliance functions. So we would expect continuous improvement recommendations from internal audit. We would also expect from internal audit to give us continuous workshops. We would also expect internal audit to be fully updated on what are the emerging AI technologies, what are the emerging AI regulations, and internal audit, we would expect to play a vital role in fostering the responsible AI adoption, to put that check, to put that control in place. Coming to external assurance, again, we would seek for this assurance for the external stakeholders, for the society at large, and for the regulators at large, that the company or the organization has adequate AI governance, AI risk management, AI controls, is conscious, has policies and processes, has documented and put up explainable use, and is properly governing the usage of AI. There is an external standard that is needed. There is an external assurance that is needed on compliance with ISO 42001. There is an external assurance opinion that is needed from an external auditor that the AI is being effectively used, is used in a governed manner, and has proper explainability. Again, external assurance has to collaborate with internal audit, because internal audit and external audit, they always have to collaborate. Interactions between internal auditor and external auditor. So an external auditor and internal auditor on AI have to collaborate. And again, an external auditor has to also collaborate with the developers and some of the external regulators. So this is how we have the whole subject of AI governance, the role of internal audit, and how this is going to work as a part of this comprehensive AI internal audit of AI governance. So this covers all that we wanted to show today. Happy to take up questions and answers on the subject.
So it was absolutely insightful session. Thank you, sir, for it. We have couple of questions. So first question is, can we say AI governance is a part of IT governance?
AI and IT governance more or less will operate in a similar manner. The traditional technology that is used, the traditional technologies like your hardware and software, these are called legacy technologies, right? And the governance of those technologies, legacy technologies, is called technology governance. And the governance of AI, basically all the emerging artificial intelligence technologies, is called AI governance. In my view, there is not much of a difference because most of the legacy systems are now upgraded. Look at cloud. I mean, you had on-prem systems, which most of them have got transitioned to cloud, which is again a kind of an emerging and emerged technology. I would say, of course, improvements taking place on a daily basis. But let's say governance, IT governance of an on-prem system, on-premise system, technology governance. Now cloud is there, and you've got the legacy hardware or your legacy on-prem systems that have transitioned to cloud. So therefore, what do you call governance of cloud? How do you put the cloud governance in place? According to me, cloud is also an emerging technology, and you need to have a governance on cloud also. And there are various standards around cloud governance. Likewise, AI governance. Now, in my view, all of these is going to converge. It's an overall information technology, AI governance, overall information technology, AI assurance, overall information technology, AI audit, basically. All of this is going to converge into giving a proper opinion about legacy systems, cloud systems, and emerging technologies. Is all converging.
Okay. Okay. So the second question was, as of now, there is no standard or no framework governing AI. Is it so?
42001, I just said it in my session. ISO
Correct.
42001 is one such leading standard which has come up by the ISO organization. It has come up by ISO organization for putting up standards related to AI governance. It's one such standard, but we are going to rapidly see this area evolve, and we are going to have regulations. I spoke about India not having still an external regulation other than DPDP Act, the Digital Data Protection Act, the Digital Personal Data Protection Act. We still don't have a regulation on AI as a country, while most of the developed countries do have it. But we are going to see this area massively evolve with regulations and with standards. And we are going to see, even the assurance framework. Like I spoke in one of the slides, that the RBI and SEBI are going to do some pioneering work. We are just going to see in next few months, some of the circulars and standards. RBI has kept pace with most of the international regulations and most of the best practices internationally, including the monetary policies, the monetary things, like for example, we have capital adequacy norms and so on and so forth, right? Similarly, we are having operational parts of the business that also RBI has over a period of time mastered it. Likewise, corporate governance for the banking companies and for the NBFCs. Likewise, the technology, we have so many standards. Cybersecurity, we have so many standards. Vulnerability assessment, penetration testing, we have so many standards. Adoption of cloud, we have got many circulars, etc. And likewise, SEBI. So we are going to see SEBI, IRDA, RBI going to play a massive role in the evolution of AI governance, compliance, and assurance.
Okay. So, sir, there is a request regarding making this PPT available to the participants. There is just a request. There is one more question. Please throw some light on the key checklist for AI governance and reading material for internal audit of AI.
Very good. So, as far as this presentation is concerned, Jinal, I'll definitely share this with Arun. And can be circulated to the participants or can be made available. There's no problem. There's nothing that I said, that cannot be shared. Of course, this is all. We have also researched it and put it together. Now, coming to the checklist, let me tell you, there is no as such. This subject is very, very wide, rapidly developing and evolving. So there is no externally available checklist. However, there are some resources on some of the international websites, including ISACA. There are some checklists, and those who are members can actually get it. In fact, Institute of Chartered Accountants is also. I think we also have some material around AI, and as some of you rightly said, I think Preeti ma'am rightly said that AI in ICAI is something that the current president and the council members are basically leading towards, and having there's a summit on AI also, which I heard as a part of the start. So we would see some institutes material also in this area related to AI and usage of AI, etc. However, I don't think we have a lot on internal audit of AI. I don't think we have a lot of stuff going on that. So I believe that maybe there's work that needs to be done as far as developing the checklist, as far as developing some of the programs. Comprehensive checklist is not that easy, but even then, to have at least a checklist on the compliance of ISO 42001, I think that is not a very difficult task, which can be developed. I personally don't think many internal auditors would have developed some kind of a checklist around AI governance, but that is something that is possible to be done, and I probably see that maybe in a few months' time we will have that. In fact, some of the internal auditors may be doing AI controls audit or AI governance audits. It's not a very difficult task, but be difficult to have a very comprehensive one. but I think getting a checklist on 42001 is not that difficult.
Okay. Okay. Sir, anything else regarding reading material?
I think if I may say, I'm not kind of any publicity of any particular websites or platforms, but I would strongly urge, if someone wants to really do some proper research around it, it's not very difficult. I think LinkedIn also has some very good courses around AI governance. So if you just go and read some articles, there are some workflow questions. They'll pop up some questions, 2 or 3 questions about what is AI governance. You click that, it will show something more. Then you click that, it will keep going. So I would urge the participants to look at LinkedIn, not just for AI governance, but for any topic, including sustainability, right?
Okay.
Including some of the evolving subjects like climate and some of those areas. Also to look at LinkedIn, which is a very important resource.
Sure.
I saw most of the things. In fact, I was preparing for one of the sessions on AI governance as part of IIA, which have a session. We had a session in the month of I think May, June sometime, the national conference that we had, and
Yes.
a lot I was able to gather, and talk about was from LinkedIn actually. So that is another. So ISACA, LinkedIn, Institute of Internal Auditors, Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. I think some bit of even Googling this will really help the users to understand the topic much better.
Okay. Okay. So there is one more question. Can AI governance responsibility be entrusted to IT department? If not, which department it should perform?
So I think in a way I have already covered this. That whose responsibility it is. Then there are various agencies that will play a role. So there is a statutory audit mechanism that will play a role. There is internal audit that will play a role. IT. So let me just go into some technical parts. IT is a first line of defense, or the first line, I would call it, because they are doing the business. I mean, they are basically developing technologies implementing technologies related to AI, right? So the digital teams and the technology teams, they play a first line. Obviously, they cannot play a role of the third line or even statutory on it, because they are doing it themselves. It will be conflict. So therefore, you have the second line, the second line or the third line, which is internal audit. The second line, which is again the management review controls, right? Who would play a role? And the third line, which is the statutory audit, which will, internal audit. There's a third line of defense. Internal audit to play a role in the AI governance reviews. In fact, I would say if there is some agency that has to play the maximum amount of role in AI governance, I would say is the internal audit team, both for AI and for sustainability, because it is the end. Because now imagine AI risk is not in the explosions that we are talking about, or the kind of risk that we're talking about is a subject for internal audit. So to understand that how AI can be misused, what kind of risks that it can throw, what kind of issues that it can throw, the best people to understand this is the internal audit team, according to me. So the kind of effective role that an internal audit will play in bringing this up to the board level, because as I said, the boards are not also adequately composed to understand the AI governance. So the kind of role that internal audit will play will really massively determine the success of AI governance. So the most important role is for the internal audit, I would say.
Okay. And so the last question is for SOX entities, whether GITC controls need tweak to include test script to check for AI. Also, lots of internal tools are having limited connection to data. In such cases, how AI is going to impact and how to assess them?
IT general controls will definitely have to include AI controls. Will have to include controls around policies, because IT general controls is nothing but GITC or ITGC, more or less similar domains. They will have to have controls around AI governance in the form of policies, in the form of procedures related to AI, the checks and balances on the AI. Those will become, so IT general controls or GITCs will have to be updated to include the AI level policies and procedures and AI related general controls. Some of the controls on AI would be general controls. Some of the controls on the AI will be privacy controls. Some of the controls related to AI will be application controls. So the GITCs or ITGCs will also have to be updated to include some of the AI related general controls. AI general controls. This topic is going to evolve as we speak at this point, Jinal, to update many things. It's GITC or ITGCs. It will have to, the risk registers will have to be updated. The corporate governance rules will have to be updated. The checklist will have to be updated. I think there's a massive work that is needed in this area.
Sure. So, sir, it was amazing session and indeed insightful session, sir. And sir, thank you for answering all our queries, all our questions. And sir, looking forward for your further more insightful session. Thank you, sir.
Absolutely delighted. Thank you so much. If there are any more questions, happy Arun has my contact point. So basically, the in the internal audit team at the institute, the internal audit board, internal audit and management accounting, now it is called. They can reach out. I'm very happy to answer this, Gina. Thank you so much for this opportunity and for a wonderful interaction with all the participants. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. Thank you.